Hey guys, so I'm just going to be doing a couple of videos since I have a bit of time on my hands. The first video that I want to do is a video that I've been saying that I was going to do for a long time, and it's just me giving you an overview of my products, my powders. So I tried to split some of my collection videos into different videos. I'm just going to get started. I'm going to try to just give you some brief information on each powder. I accidentally didn't pull them out, so if you hear me rumbling around, just forgive me, but I'll try to edit it out. So the first powder, I'm just going by what I have next to me, is the Dolce & Gabbana. And this one is in the color, what is it, Sable. Looks like this. It had an imprint on it, but I've already been using it quite a bit, so you're not going to be able to see the imprint is starting to go away. This one is a powder to, sorry. This one is a powder to foundation type product. So you have to be really careful. You can apply this wet or dry. I always apply it dry, and if you are not careful with the powder to foundation products, then you can end up looking really powdery. It is a nice product once you get the hang of application, but if you don't want to be finicky about a powder, I wouldn't say this is my best choice. It cost about $60. So moving on. The next powder that I have, this is, I put it in this Fafi thing, but it is my blot powder. And I think this may be their darkest blot powder, the blot powder by MAC. I don't know why I'm showing you because they're just powders. But this one is an okay powder. It's not going to give you a lot of coverage. So it is basically for if you do get oily and you just want something that has a tint of color and is going to take your oiliness away. If you are somebody that's looking for a powder that has just a little bit of coverage and you don't need a lot of coverage, I still would not recommend this, because I just don't think that if you wanted it for a more finished look, that's going to do the trick for you. The next two products are pretty similar, and I bought them so that I could compare the two, and they are the Prep and Prime by MAC, and then the Invisible Oil blocking powder by Black Opal. They are a tad bit different. I'll try to show you the difference. The MAC powder is basically a white powder, kind of like their loose powder, but it's just in the pressed format. It's called Prep and Prime Transparent Finishing Powder. The one from Black Opal, if you can see, this is Black Opal here. And then this is MAC. If you can see the difference, I know my lighting is not the best in this situation, but the one that you see that has a bit more color, a bit more tint, is the Black Opal product. The difference between these two products, of course, is price. I think MAC's might be about 20 bucks and the Black Opal may be about 5 bucks. I don't like the MAC powder because it does, when you first put it on, it does leave a white cast. So if you need to put on a powder and you need to leave the house right away, these white powders, you got to kind of let them set a little bit, and so they're not my favorite. They're not horrible, but they're not my favorite. This works a little bit better than the MAC. However, it is more, it's not as finely milled as the MAC. So you're going to get that, and you'll see it when I show you the lower cost products. You can see how these just seem to be a bit more loose powders. So when you use them, you're going to get like a cloud of powder. It doesn't take away from the product. You just have to be more careful, and you have to just make sure you use a light hand and then build up so that you don't get that chalky look to your face. That is kind of the same. The cheaper powders work almost in the way that the powder to foundation product works, but they're just not as good. This one, if I had to pick though, I would pick the lower price product, just because you can put it on, it doesn't leave as much of a white cast, and so you could just go out the house. The next powder that I will talk about is a pretty good powder. I've done a review on it on my blog. It is the Maybelline Fit Me product, and then as you're gonna see, once again, this is a budget product, and you're gonna see how the powder is all over the compact. So it's really powdery, I do like this product though. It matches me perfectly. I have the color 355. If you're really oily, you may have to reapply maybe every 2 hours, just like any other product. It doesn't detract from me telling you to buy it, other than it's, like you saw, chalkier, so you need to be careful. But I use it all the time. I have no complaints about it, and so let's move on. The next powder that I am going to do is, I've already talked about, well, I kind of briefly talked about when I did the Makeup Forever haul. You can see this one is slightly less chalky than the 355, so I hope you know what I'm talking about when I say that. I have two colors of this duo matte powder. This is 216 and this is 18. 18 is too dark for me, and 18 to me is kind of similar to the Sephora Deep 60 powder. They are the same color, the 18 by Duo Matte and the Deep 60 by Sephora. The only difference is this Sephora powder is a bit, it's like a, let's see, they're both powder foundation, so they're both, like I said, once again, they're buildable and they're going to be more chalky. They're going to give you more coverage, so you need to be really careful and go slow with them. This one, to me, is not as finely milled, as you can see, as you see how it's kind of more chalky than the Makeup Forever, but they are close enough. This one, see how this one has powder, but it's not as bad. This one I think is $20. This one is $30 to $40. I don't see much of a difference to where if you are on a budget where I wouldn't go with Sephora instead of Makeup Forever. You just have to make sure you get your right color. Like I said, the 18 and the Deep 60 look to be about the same color on my skin. They're both too dark and they oxidize because I have so much yellow in my skin to a more orange color, so I really have to be careful with that. They would work in the summer, but for the winter they don't, and that is why I have the 216, which works perfectly. The next powder that I am going to talk about, I also have two of these MAC powders. These are the mineralized skin finish powders. This one I put in the Heatherette packaging, but I think this one might be dark. Now, so dark is a nice color. It has a hint of sheen, which I kind of is making me detractive. It started to detract me from the MAC now that I get older, because when you look where you put your powder on your face and then you look at your hairline, you can kind of see the difference in the finishes between the sheen and not sheen, and that to me is annoying when I have a demarcation line, and it's not because there's a different color of a product, it's a different consistency between the color of my skin and the shimmers that they add to the product. So I used to love MSF and I use dark, but like I said, the dark oxidizes orange on me. So if you're like a NC50, you may want to try to go lighter, because once it oxidizes, it turns into the perfect color. So the one that oxidizes and turns into a perfect color for me is medium deep, which you're going to see I broke a chunk out of it on accident. Medium deep is the perfect color for me once it oxidizes. Like I said, I'm starting to get away from the MSFs just because they do have a hint of sheen, which does not agree with my skin tone. It can usually, if I have a good skin day, I can just get away with the concealer and the powder. So the powder, I would say, can give you a light coverage and you can build it up to a medium coverage. You do have to make sure you apply this with a good brush. Before, I was using a dense Coastal Scents brush. I was using a Coastal Scents brush like this one, and that was maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. And the problem with this was that it applied so much product that my MSF looked really, really chalky. So once I moved on to kabuki brushes and then powder brushes, then, you know, the product looked perfect. So let's move on from the MSF powders. The next powder that I'm going to talk about is my MAC Prep and Prime, the loose powder. I really have to be honest, I do not notice a difference between this one and the pressed one. So if you do happen to like this but you don't like the inconvenience of it being a loose powder, I will go ahead and just try out the pressed powder because like I said, I don't see that much of a difference. Another product that works like a powder for me, this is the MAC, I think it's called Smooth Harmony or something like that. It's a beauty powder. They always bring it out just because it's usually a finishing powder and it puts color on people's face if you're lighter skin tone. It didn't show up as a beauty powder to kind of highlight my skin because it's so similar to my skin, but when I put it on, it does act as a powder toward my skin. So that is another product, a powder product that I wanted to show you. Let's see, another product that I have tried out to show you is I have a sample of the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil, and I actually like this product. I don't like loose powder, so I probably would not repurchase, but it has that kind of yellowish tint, kind of like the Black Opal product. So if you want to put on a loose powder on your face and you don't want to wait for like the white ones to kind of, you know, absorb into your skin, this one has a bit of color, and so you don't have to wait. You can just put it on and then you can go. And let's see, I think I have talked about all of my powders. I have tried also the, oh, what is it? The Makeup Forever HD powder that looks like the loose powder from MAC, the Prep and Prime, the white one. I haven't noticed any big significant differences between the two products, so I can't recommend one or the other. And once again, because they're both loose powders, I don't necessarily like that type of a product. They're too messy. They just don't fit my lifestyle. Loose powders, pigments, that type of thing. I'm just a clumsy person and I just don't want to, you know, deal with the hassle of spilling product all over the place and then having to clean it up. And that is it for my powder review. I hope that it was helpful and that you find some information that was useful for you. If you have any questions or want me to go more in depth about a specific product that you saw, please let me know. Another good powder product that I do not have from the drugstore is the L'Oreal True Match powder. I did not like the foundation because it's a little bit too runny for me and it doesn't come with a pump. So I didn't like the foundation, but I do like the powder, and I think in the powder I was a C7, and I actually had hit pan on that product, and if I didn't have so much crap and I was on a budget and didn't want to try out other stuff and wasn't greedy, that's another drugstore product that I could recommend. So I will talk to you guys later. Like I said, if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them below. Otherwise, I'm going to try to do one more video and talk to you guys later, okay? Bye.